Hello and welcome to FX Addicts Weekly Market Analysis. This is Tim, the Currency Professor, and today is Friday, December 13th, 2013. December 13th, Friday the 13th. So a little bit of action today. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Next week we get a full docket of stuff. Today really the only big thing out was U.S. Wholesale inflation, which actually dropped 0.1%. However, the core rate was up 0.1% as expected. So that's what the Fed watches. So really not a big deal. Next week, though, full docket of stuff. Starting on Monday, the Tankin reports out of Japan. A little bit early this month because of the holidays coming up. So expectations there are for 16 for both manufacturing and non-manufacturing, which will be increases for both. So everybody will be looking for that. And then we move on to the rest of the day with PMI starting in China, running all the way through to Europe, and most of those really, the only one that's expected to be, or actually two that are expected to be below 50 are the French ones, both manufacturing and services. France seems to be slowing a little bit, so we'll see how these actually come out. That would be kind of an indication as to what we can expect out of France for GDP numbers here towards the end of the year, because of these kind of lead to that. Also out of the U.S., Empire State Manufacturing Index expected to be positive 5.1% after last month's decline at 2.2. Also in the U.S., industrial production and capacity utilization on Monday. Industrial production expected to be up 0.6%, much better than last month's down 0.1%. Then on Tuesday we get inflation numbers out of the UK, and again the PPI input and PPI output are expected to be negative. This will now be the fourth month running, not a very good sign. Then out of Europe we get zoo economic sentiment as well as consumer price index, and those are not really expected to see any big changes, at least nothing to really move the markets. Out of the U.S. on Tuesday, the CPI numbers, and again those are really not expected to be any big market movers. Last month was a negative 1%, 0.1%. This month is expected to be a positive 0.1%. Then on to Wednesday, out of the UK, two things. You got the unemployment rate and claimant count, and then also the Bank of England meeting. So we'll see what the last Bank of England meeting, what their discussions were, what their votes were, that kind of thing. No real changes expected on either one of those. And then out of the U.S., building permits and housing starts, both for September and October. So those are expected to be just under 1 million. So we'll see exactly how those come out. They may move the markets if they come out over 1 million. And then on Wednesday also, FOMC meeting. So this is going to be the big deal. Two-day meeting, 17th and 18th. Everyone's going to be watching to see for indications of tapering. Now, in the U.S., the budget was passed by the House apparently yesterday, and it goes to the Senate then the beginning of next week. If they pass the budget, this is a 2-year budget, it will give the Federal Reserve room to start tapering. That was one of the reasons they held off back in September. So if they do pass this budget, if Congress does pass this budget, then the Federal Reserve will have one more piece of ammunition in which to start tapering. So it really raises the probability that they will taper considerably. So at this point you could really say that if that Congress, if the Senate passes the budget next week, that we could probably see about an 80% chance that the FOMC will make some kind of move on tapering next week. Thursday we get existing home sales and Philly Fed out of the U.S. A little bit lower on existing home sales. Philly Fed expected to be a little higher. And then on Friday, the final GDP for the U.S. expected to come in at 3.6. That's for third quarter. We will get fourth quarter then the end of January. Alright, on to the technicals here. Euro US dollar down about 33 today. Starting to pull back. Looks like we're starting to build a little bit of a double top up in here. We've said this before though, and it's blown right through, so a lot of enthusiasm about the euro here, especially against the dollar. But again, if the Fed comes through and does start tapering, that could probably change the dynamics quite a bit. We look out on the weeklies. We're ending the week here on a positive note, but just barely. So actually how we finish out today is going to be important. If this turns to a negative candle, then we have a nice tail with a negative candle. That could be a real serious turnaround. And then on the monthlies, well, here we are 2 weeks into the month, still have 2 weeks left, and we're just barely grinding higher here. It's really having a lot of difficulty making those highs. Pound against the dollar, down again today, down about 63, third day in a row. We've seen this top out several times and then blow through it as well. Again, longer term, we look out here on the weeklies. We're pushing on this this trend line here where we were at many months ago, actually a couple of years ago, and we've pushed up to that level now. Again, we've exceeded it but never closed above it on a weekly basis. So here we are, we're falling back from that. It looks kind of negative at this point. And then also on the monthlies, we're again 2 weeks into it, but we did poke our head up a little bit above the most recent highs here, only to fall back. So not really a positive sign at all. US dollar against the Swiss franc, just getting hammered this week. The last couple of days, yesterday and today, gaining back slightly, just slightly. Today up about 16, just above 89. So trying to build a little bit of a base here. Maybe we jump up to this trend line around 89.70 beginning of next week, then fall back down and test these lows. On a weekly basis, well, depending on how we actually close today, could be a determination as to whether this is a turnaround week or a continuation week. If we turn it around, it would be a blue candle here. We would actually finish on a positive note. So that is a possibility. And then on the monthlies, well, here we are halfway through the month, a very extended month, largest we've seen in a couple of months, and still following this trend line down. At some point here we're going to explode to the upside, close above both of these trend lines, which go back 4 decades, and that would start then a new uptrend for us, especially after this spike low here. US dollar against Japanese yen, we got kind of a spike high today, down 12 right now. We were up quite vigorously, made some new highs earlier in the session, and now have since given it back. However, I'm not going to believe this because there's a lot of strength here in this market, and really looking like we're probably going to fall off for a couple of days and then move right back up, just like we saw right back here. So again, longer term looks very good. We're up several weeks in a row. We're pushing now on these this upper resistance area, so maybe we fall back for a week and then push up, but if we look out here at the monthlies, more than likely we're going to finish this month at new highs. There is still a lot of momentum here, and it's building every week, so really don't see it pulling back. Euro Swiss down a little bit today, down about 9. We had a couple of days here where we did bounce a little bit. Looks like maybe we're starting to put in a little bit of a low here in which we could rally from. Overall though, we're still fairly weak. Jump out to the weeklies here. Last week, very large week down. This week, kind of a maybe a turnaround week or a continuation, depending on how we actually close. But overall, still looking for this market to bounce around in here and eventually work its way up to at least the 125.50, 126 level, and ultimately to the 132 level. Euro yen down a little bit today, down about 53. Made new highs again this week, and just pushing up. Still doesn't look like it's going to fall back. Right now we're in some area where there really isn't too much resistance. So here we are, being the 5th week up in a row. We maybe pull back for a week and then rocket up again. Now on the monthlies, we really don't have anything until we get up to about 149. So very little resistance here. We could just keep going. Really doesn't look like it's going to pull back at all. US dollar against Canadian, down today, down about 36. We had a very nice up day yesterday. Looked like we pretty much ended this correction, and now we're right back down here today. So overall, though, still looks like we're building that momentum. We just keep forming this kind of a curvature here where this shows momentum. If we jump out here to the weekly, jump out here to the weekly so we can see it even more. We can draw a line from way back here, and we can see how it's been building that momentum and slowly getting up here. So as we cross up here around that 107, 108 area, which we could in the next week or two, this thing will really explode. Looking on the monthlies, still looks very, very good for us to really rocket up out of here. And probably the first stop here, once we pass that 107, 108 area and close above that, probably be 116 to 118, and then maybe we fall back a little bit, thrust up again to around the 130 level. So this market is really poised to take off considerably. Australian against the US today, about 15, but getting hit the last couple of days. We're right back down now, very close to the lows. Looks like we're probably going to exceed them here in the next week or two. We've been down a lot of weeks in a row, but that being said, it's still a very, very weak market. Any kind of rally we get, it gets sold very vigorously. On the monthlies, well, here we are 2 weeks into the month. We're hitting right on those lows that we established a few months ago. If we break and close below that this month, there really isn't anything stopping this market from dropping to the lower 80s very quickly, for that matter. So we may hold up around the 85, 86 area, but ultimately we're heading for 80 to 82, and we'll do it very quickly. That is it for this week. Questions, comments, please feel free to stop by and ask me. Tim@fxaddicts.com. You can email me or Skype FXAddicts. I am available if you have questions about anything relating to currencies or interest rates. And if you're not a member of FX Addicts, that's fine too. You can always sign up for a 7-day free trial with us, and you can certainly ask questions without doing that as well. So thank you very much. Talk to you later.